Choices, choices, choices. That's what the gun industry is about these days. We have so many good things to choose from, it ends up being hard to choose one. Between guns and sights and now even mini lights. So here are some of my favorites, and they're probably some of your favorites too. And you're probably wondering, which one should I get? And I figured I would shed some light on which ones I like. Let's see. Here we have the Glock Inforce APLc. Coming over to the right, we have a TLR8. Coming up to the HK45C, we have a TLR7. Boom, FN509 Tactical with an FDE non-Glock APLc, and then boom, we get the Glock with the limited edition FDE PL-mini Valkyrie. Cool little light. My shadow's getting in the way over here of this fantastic display I tried to set up. So these are fun things. So we have P10C, P320 45, HK 45, FN509 Tactical, Glock 19X, all sporting a different light. These two are sporting the same type of light in different configurations. These two are sporting sister lights. One has a laser, one doesn't. And then that guy right there has a more unique design. It is the PL-mini Valkyrie in FDE, and this has a quick detach, as you can see right there, that makes it somewhat unique. And it also has a charging port on the bottom because it has no replaceable battery, it's just a rechargeable battery at all times. And on that fine ass Glock 19X that was milled for an RMR. Boom! So let's talk about what we like about these lights, what we don't like about these lights. Let's start with, since we have this front and center, the PL-mini Valkyrie. This light is pretty cool because it is very cheap. It is only about 70 to 80 bucks. They just recently had like a 40% off sale too. I mean, you could probably buy this stupid light for like 50 bucks. It is very bright. It has 400 lumens out of that little tiny LED. It's very cool in that respect. It sits very thin from the rail to the bottom of the light. That dimension is quite thin. It is about the same size as your gun, as you can see right there. However, look at that thing sticking out. Boom! It makes kind of holstering interesting. Holsters generally tend to grab onto that thing right there. And I guess in theory that could get in the way. I don't know, it is a handgun, so it's very maneuverable. I don't think that's really ever going to be in the way very much. But it could snag on something, I don't know. But it is cool because it can come right off and on. Let's see if we can just snap, just like that. It snaps off and the light can come off. And then just as simply, it can go on just as easy. And let's see, we can do this one hand. Boom! One-handed. Look at that. So yeah, very easy off and on. If you have multiple guns and you're switching them constantly and you can find a holster for it, then the PL-mini Valkyrie is pretty sweet. A downside of this gun is going to be that little nub right there. Like I said, might snag on something, who knows. But also these activation switches. So these activation switches are very small and they're very hard, and you have to push them down right there. So you can see the light going on and off. It is a simple fast press for constant on and long press for momentary on. Let me show you what's going on with these. as you hold the gun, these are very small, the actual place where you can press them down, because you only have from here to there. So you have a very small window of access to this light. And let me try to show you with this other hand. I am filming with one hand and doing this with the other, but if I were to have a proper grip on the gun, it would be something like this. Now what I have to do is, it's very hard for me to do this and get the light on. So I generally have to do this. I have to like point my thumb down and find it, which can be very unnatural when you have a grip like that. It's kind of awkward to do that. So that's the only downside really of this light, is the activation switches are relatively inconvenient. Inforce APLc, we'll jump to that. The only difference between this one and this one is you'll be able to see the square is slightly rearward on the FDE one. That's the only difference. Other than that, they're identical, other than color. The same exact lumens, same exact fitment, everything like that. It's just this one will fit on a little bit more rails and it won't fit on a Glock. Whereas this one might fit on most rails. I really haven't found a rail it doesn't fit on, but it's the only one that will fit on a Glock or like a P10C, because this screw is slightly too far back than this screw. However, when you're not using like a P10C or a Glock, I do prefer this, because it will give you a lockup, as you can see, more in the center. So I feel like this is a more solid lockup than the Glock style, whereas the lockup is way in the front of the light, whereas this is more towards the middle of the light. I feel like this is more secure. So that would be the difference there. These have a fantastic activation on both sides. You can see here, there's very good serrations. It's very similar to like this material right here on the side there. Not serrations, stippling. It has like little stippling. There you go, you can see it there. It's very similar to that. It's very grabby. Awesome. So when you are holding onto this gun, look at this improvisation. So you're holding onto this gun like this, you can use the butt of your thumb right here to get that light. See that? You can't really do that in the PL-mini. Same thing, hold it for momentary, quick press. They're all like that actually. Quick press for constant on, hold it for momentary. And that's something that's really nice about this light, is you can hit it with the bottom of your thumb right here. You don't have to adjust your grip, you're just like, boom, and it goes on and off. It also extends pretty far back, so that if you were holding it with one hand and say you needed to do one hand manipulation of the light, very, very easy. Even if you had little tiny hands, very easy. You can just touch it on the pad right there. It's perfectly flush, which is pretty sweet. The light also looks amazing. It's a very cool light. It sits, as you can see, a little bit above the trigger guard as far as how thick it is top to bottom, and you can see it's about the same thickness as the gun itself. So works out really good. This light's very cool. Let's jump over to the TLRs. These are both Streamlight. They are both sister lights. The only difference between the two of them, as far as their technical specs go, is the fact that this is going to have a little laser on the bottom, and there you can see that. That little bulge down there is a little bit laser. It's a red laser. It only comes in red. Is the TLR8 on the SIG P320-45, and you can see that little bulge and the laser. Here's your activation switches. Weird thing about these is it's literally just that thin bar, and you have to hit that thin bar directly. You cannot hit here, you can't press in, you can't hit here. You have to hit that thin bar directly, and it's a very hard thin bar. A momentary and constant on, same as the other lights. So with this light, we're going to get into the activation real quick. Thumb You have a thumb forwards grip like that. You can kind of hit it with the bottom of your thumb, but generally, you can kind of see I'm failing sometimes. Generally, you kind of gotta hit it with the tip of your thumb as well. You sometimes can get it like that, but yeah, see, I missed a couple times. So generally, with this light, to make sure I activate it properly, I usually thumb down to go find that little bar specifically. Another weird thing about this light that's worth mentioning, there we go, perfect picture. See that little screw in the back? It's right there. That little screw is metal and it's kind of sharp. So when you do have a thumbs forward grip and you're holding the gun like so, the recoil's doing this, and that little screw actually presses up against your thumb, like right around there. And you'll actually get some discomfort after a little bit of shooting. I mean, this also is a 45, and I only have these lights on my 45s, so they are recoiling slightly more. But that is something to note, that those little screws can give you like a little blister after like 300, 400 rounds in a day, which I typically do. So right now, we are going to jump over to some light comparisons, actual output comparisons in a dark room. Alright. Okay guys, as you can see, we are in a dark setting right now, and we're going to do some beam comparisons of the different lights. First up, we have the Glock 19X with the Olight PL-mini. Ooh, look, identification. Those clothes over there are precisely 10 yards away in my house. This is a pretty large room, and that's about 10 yards away. That's the PL-mini. Now, we're going to go to the Inforce APLc. And there's that one. You can see it's got a nice hot spot in the center, so you can see that. Next up, we are going to do the TLR7. And boom. You'll notice this light super floods. It lights up the whole room. This is a 500 lumen light, and it's very yellow. You can see it's much more yellow than the other two lights. So this has a bit of a yellow beam and a very nice hot spot in the center and a very large flood. And then for comparison, this is the TLR8. Boom. And you can see the laser going on right there. You can see it in the red. PL-mini, APLc again, TLR7. Alright, there you go. It's comparison. Back out to the light. Okay, so that was a pretty cool comparison of the beams of each individual light in a simulation of what it might be like to identify something in the dark with that convenient little clothes rack I had going on. And let's talk about that for a second. So, as you could easily see, the PL-mini and the Streamlight both have a lot of lumens, 500 and 400. So they are pushing out all the lumens, whereas the APLCs are only doing 200. Now, we are talking about a pistol light here and not a rifle light. Now, it's never a bad thing to have a lot of lumens, but I think that the activation is going to be more important than the actual lumens itself, because you're going to be very close. I've been on the receiving end of that APLC, and it's certainly going to blind you. It's a very nice hotspot. My favorite beam pattern is going to be the PL-mini. It's a nice white light. It's very strong, lots of flood, especially with like that little tiny lens. For that little tiny lens, it certainly floods that room very well and lights everything up very well. The Streamlights both produce a pretty yellow hue to the light. They're very bright, but they have a very yellow hue, and I don't really prefer that. I like the whiter lights more. And as far as the Inforce goes, clearly it's got a little bit less power, but the convenience of activation and how much more positive it is, how much easier it is to not mess up. Another thing to note is I had a holster made for this TLR7, and it was inadvertently turning on and off when you holster, and that's because of this design right here. It's just this bar, and the bar sticks out. Let's see if I can get that in. See, the bar is one of the highest points on the light. So it was totally understandable how the holster was activating it. It's actually the highest point on the side of the light. That's a bad design. I don't like that. It's very easy to negligently discharge this light, and that could be a bad thing, especially if you're like a tactical dude. I'm just a civilian dude, so I just found it annoying, whereas a tactical dude, it could cost you a significant advantage in a life-threatening situation. So something like this or this, where the activation is sitting flush with the side of the gun and it does not press in at the same exact time as being the most outward point of the light. So yeah, my favorite's definitely going to be the APLc, just because of the activation, this beautiful stippling on the side. It's so easy to intentionally put momentary on or constant on. It's just very well set up. So that's going to be my final verdict. That is just one man's opinion from having used all these lights. The Inforce APLc is going to be your overall winner. Like I said, you're using a pistol, you're not going to be reaching out very far, and these lights certainly produce enough power to suit your purpose on a pistol. So there you go, guys. Purchase whichever one you think you will like, but that is my opinion, and there you go. Get yourself an APLc. See ya.